Give me some respect right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Jalen, with you and Nick Sirianni, how was your relationship growing over the last year?
It's just growing day by day. And we obviously all, both of us, love to work, love hard work. I have a ton of grit to ourselves, and we're passionate about that, and we express that through our work. So I think it's been able to grow and evolve and be good.
How much work goes into it that we obviously don't get to see?
I mean, there's a lot of work that everyone doesn't see in any and everything, um, but it's about the collective, about the collective.
That collective, Jalen, Nick always preaches sustained success as he, enters the season. You guys have had a pretty significant degree of that. Is there something, as your 50 years of starters, something that's resonated that has enabled you as a group to have that sustained success?
Yeah. I think it's just a mentality that's preached, and I think it's the lessons learned over time. I think all of us in this building have learned a ton of lessons throughout our journeys here, and I know Coach Sirianni can speak to that. I can speak to that. As a unit, we can speak to that, and as a unit, we've evolved and been able to find different ways to win on both sides of the ball. And so that's what it's about: really being able to remain a sponge, remain diligent in everything, and learn from all of your experiences. That's how you grow.
Question about the new guys coming in. Last year afforded you guys some instant credibility for, I don't know, buy-in and whatnot. What did you see in terms of that with new guys coming in and the buy-in in terms of what you guys were trying
Who are you
to
talking about?
new players that weren't part of last year,
Mhm.
whether it's rookies or otherwise? What did you see?
Yeah, well, speaking on this year, you don't know what the iteration of the team will be until you get out there and you get into some live bullets on live fire, if you will. And so, we try and establish a good thing and try and, obviously try and set the right example and try and work really hard um, to set that example. Ultimately, it takes the togetherness and it takes the kind of evolution of just learning from everything that we go through as a team. And so that's the exciting part about embarking on a new journey is it's a new group and it'll be a new iteration of what this team is.
Think back to last December, you made a comment that the offense might not look the way people want it to look, but it's going to look the way Jalen Hurts wants it to look. As you've kind of grown in your career, how have you made it your offense? Because obviously you're the constant despite all the changes.
Yeah, just being that. I think just being present and examining my game and saying how can I evolve and how can I grow. Yet number one, maintaining the main priority. And so that's what the objective has always been. It's always been that, and it's going to continue to be that, regardless of how it looks as a team. We just want to go out there and play efficient football. Go out there and play efficient football and find ways to score more points on the other side. It takes a collective group effort.
From the outside looking in, we've always known you, I guess, to be confident.
Mhm.
But are you more authoritative with your voice because 5 years in, you've built that type of equity here?
I think it's just like equity. I think that's a great word that comes in time in anything. You let it sit there, you saturate, you learn, and you do grow and you evolve as a person. So I think that's been a natural maturation for me. I've always spoke about how experience is the biggest teacher. I've said that since I was a rookie, when I didn't have the experience as a pro quarterback, and now the experience has definitely added up. And there's still more out there to go do and accomplish. Ultimately, it's just about being a student. I've had all these coaches every single year, and I've been able to take so much from each one. And those are the things that I lean on as a player. And I lean on that, and then I lean on how can I apply that to whomever the OC is. And so it's just, it's just a process that I've had to put myself through. But ultimately, as a team, collectively, finding ways to do that and be successful as offense. And, it doesn't matter how it looks to me. I just want to go out there and find ways to win and play efficient football and, push the needle.
You've been on some great teams and won championships, and really, can you visibly feel or physically feel or visibly see when a team is coming to play a team that won a championship or that was really good that you're getting their A game because of that?
Well, it's NFL. It's a competitive league, so it's that. I mean, I have that mentality, the mentality of going out there and competing and trying to compete at that level. Every time I step on the field, and everyone should have that mentality. And kind of keep it that way.
In your,
That should grow and evolve as you grow.
in your experience, week one versus, I don't know, week 8, week 10, there's a lot of unscouted looks, I imagine, they have a new defensive coordinator. How much is that different just coming in week one versus later in the season?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Week one game, there's a lot of uncertainty. They just traded Micah. They have a new defensive coordinator. How does that different from, say, when you have a bunch of tape on a team, whether it's week 8, week 10, or is it similar for you?
That all those things come into consideration, but there's still so much unknown. So you don't know. Ultimately, you got to trust the technique and trust the fundamentals that you've been practicing all summer and all camp to this point, and just go out there and play clean football.
How's Cowboys with different without Micah?
And it's going out there and trying to prepare to play a really good team as is, and um, focus on that.
When we talk about identity, it seems like that's something that presents itself at a certain point. But when you guys have had success doing certain things, is there a temptation to lean in on those things?
Yeah, whatever it takes to win. I think definitely, yeah, whatever it takes to win. Ultimately, we follow the direction in the head of the coaches, and so whatever direction they lead us in, that's what we do, and we evolve if needed. It's kind of like you escalate it if it needs to be escalated, but we just we don't know who we are right now. So we just want to go in and have a really good week of prep and go out there and try and establish what we want to be.
I know you don't want to look back to last year, but you guys finished in that postseason where you were really powerful, scoring, I think, 36 points a game offense. Can you take from that into this season? Is there things that you can take from what you were doing when you were on that run and build off it into the season?
It's a new season. It's a new season. It's a new journey. So who knows?
I asked Nick earlier this morning about what he's emphasizing with player-led leadership. He talked about habits, and I think that's a constant thing he's kind of talked about the last couple of years. But how does he emphasize habits? How do you embrace that, and what are habits that work for you?
Well, when you said Nick, it made me really the thing that he's been preaching a lot is contribution over credit, and the whole sense of it doesn't really matter how it gets done. Just a matter of getting it done. As a team and really buying into that collective. And so I think he's had a habit of saying that. He's had a habit of saying that to try and go to that next level, it requires something more of yourself. And so I think he's done a really good job from a message standpoint. And as a team, we just have to continue to, kind of be all in on that and follow his lead.
When you hear him say that over and over about contribution, what do you reflect on?
I reflect on trying to find a way to win and not mattering how it looks.
How often does Nick mention Larry Karras to you? And have you ever talked to Larry? And I talked to him and he just talked about what a great player he thought you were from the outset. Have you ever had a conversation with him just about his thoughts on offense? It's like 3 questions.
Well, I mean, we got the Cowboys this week, so trying to let's kind of redirect ourselves back. I know we kind of light today, but can I get one of those, please?
All right. Well, I don't have Micah. What do you think about the Cowboys defense?
Well, the Cowboys are a really good team. Obviously, got a unit on the other side of the ball too, and that uplifts them in a number of ways. Defensively, with coach having a new defensive coordinator, you don't really know what iteration he's going to put out there on the field, and so it just comes down to kind of playing fast and playing clean football. Obviously, the defensive backs are really good. Got a really tight-knit front seven group, playing with Kenneth Murray. Very familiar with him and their safeties. They've been there a very, very long time, so they got a really good group, and they've always been able to find ways to be disruptive, and so that's something that is on top of mind.
Thanks, so.
Thank you.
Nick, what'd you think of the Micah trade?
Yeah, we have so much going on here. Obviously, we're getting ready to play the Cowboys, and so he's in your thoughts of game planning, but they still have guys that that we have to prepare for. Obviously, they got Kenny Clark, who is a really good player, and they have good depth at that defensive end group. So you don't get too wrapped up into that, except for some of the things you're doing with the game plan, but also understanding that they have a lot of good players still over there, and get ready for those guys and shift your attention to that.
It's been a while, but you knew Matt Eberflus pretty well. Does that factor into, obviously, they're going to have a new defensive scheme and things like that?
Yeah, again, on him, he's obviously evolved and we've evolved. So there's, it's been, like you said, it's been a while since we've been in the same building every single day. I know that he always going to have those guys playing hard. He's always going to have those guys coming after the football. Those are things that I know that I see on tape of his, in the preseason, and things that I know that he'll really focus on. But there are differences with schemes on both sides of the ball. So some of those conversations that we would have a lot of in the off seasons, asking him questions about a team that we might be playing. You don't look too much into that, especially after the time away that we've had from each other. But I do think he's a really good football coach, a really good football coach. I always thought that of Coach Flus.
the meeting you typically have the players telling them their roles. Did you do anything different this year?
Yeah, we did very similar deal. Obviously, roles change, talks change. Try to keep things. You try to keep things fresh, but I think that's an important meeting for multiple reasons. One, I think it's very important that everyone's job description is very clear, and it's very clear of what we expect from our players, right? And because it's tough to hold somebody accountable if it's not clear. And I want their teammates to hear what that is too, so they can encourage them and hold them accountable as well within their role. And so a lot of similarities, obviously different players, different roles. So there were enough differences, I can't tell the same joke in there every time. So you have to, with every message, right? Just thinking about messaging, every message that I give is going to be about tough, detailed together. You have to find new ways to say that, new ways to visualize that, new ways to, so everything stays fresh and clear.
Nick, how has your relationship with Jalen grown over the last year?
Yeah, I think we've always had a really good relationship. And so it's just like any relationship that the more time you spend with each other, the better the more you put into that relationship, the better that relationship is going to be. And so, yeah, I value that relationship that we have together. And like I said, it's been growing as we've been here. And we've worked on it since we've been here. We've been through ups, we've been through downs as a team. And those are the things that continue to help you grow, right? The pain that you go through together, right, brings people closer together. The competing that you do on the same team helps people grow closer together. The time that you spend with each other helps you grow, closer together. I think selflessness helps people grow closer together, and I really have talked about that at length with Jalen of how selfless. Jalen was highly efficient as a quarterback last year and won a lot of games. But I think he has to take I think that there's a lot of talk that, he didn't throw for this many touchdowns or this many yards. Well, he was super efficient and he won a lot of games. And I always admire how selfless he is in those moments, in those situations, because all he cares about is winning. And so when you see in a relationship, when you see the selflessness of another person, that grows you closer together as well. And so, all those things are why any relationship continues to grow, but all those things are why Jalen and I's relationship continues to grow.
With relationships, Nick, how have you tapped into the player-led leadership, the guys that have the confidence of knowing what it's like to win a title as you guys are entering this pursuit this season?
Yeah, we're not talking anything about a title or anything. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. How do we put ourselves in the best position to win this football game through our habits of OTAs, through our habits of training camp, through our habits this week? And how do you continue to get better as the year goes on? Well, that's your habits. That's all we're thinking about. That's all we're thinking about is this game and the players that they have on Dallas, and then our habits and our DNA of what we need to do to put ourselves in the best position to win. As far as to mention our leaders, though, we got great leaders on this football team that I know their focus is right in front of us. All that other stuff, it's not important. What we did in the past is not important. What we hope to do is not important. It's just about what we are trying to do each day to get ourselves better, to hopefully be playing our best football by the end of the year.
Nick, you guys are.
You're at 4-0 in season openers. Is there something to that? Is that coincidental, or is there something to the way you go into a season?
I think we've done some things really well as far as taking care of the football, taking the football away in those games. I showed a tape today of some missed opportunities that we had over the past 3 or 4 years of some missed opportunities. So I kind of showed some of our missed tackles, some of our missed opportunities, some block destruction that could be better from our previous, first games of the year. And then that was for the defense. Tomorrow I'll do some of the stuff with the offense. But, as we look at the stuff and really talk about how important live fundamentals are, the tackling's a little bit different because it's live, right? The ball security is a little different because it's live. The catching's a little bit different because it's live. Now, the block destruction and the blocking are similar because it's usually live up front for the offensive line, except somebody's not getting taken to the ground. So I think we've done a good job there. Obviously, we can improve. That's why we showed some of those plays today. And really what I want their mindset to be is, okay, I saw some of the good plays we've made over the past 3 years. But I also see that we left some plays out there. And so for that to be even heightened in practice, of the wrap and the tackle and the catch and all those different things, knowing that it's about to be live here in a couple days.
Well, what have you seen from Adoree Jackson throughout camp, and as someone that's coached receivers throughout your career, what does he do that specifically makes life hard on receivers?
Yeah, I think he's always in the hip pocket of guys and close to the catch point. I also think he has a good knack for the football. Was a punt returner and has a good knack for how to take the ball away, how to catch the ball, those different things like that. I think he's competitive, and that's what you want. And I think we saw in the preseason, with him playing, that he'll tackle and he'll stick his face in there, so he's got toughness. And so you really want, as a receiver, you look at a lot, is how close is he to me when I'm making the catch, and I think that he has the ability to shadow receivers, and we'll need those efforts this week against a really good receiving and tight end core.
When you have 3 unsettled,
I'm sorry.
What is that process this year?
Yeah, I won't get into all that, but the simplest answer is the players vote for him.
Along those lines, Zach and Reed, first-time captains on defense, how have they distinguished themselves in that area?
Yeah, obviously their teammates think highly of them, with the way they lead, with the way they work. Again, I think when you're thinking about a captain, the one thing you're thinking is, is this guy mentally tough? Does this guy play really, really hard? I asked them to think about those things when they were voting. Does he play with great detail? Is he selfless? All those things. Again, it's always going to come back to tough detail then together for us. And I think at the end of the day too, all those things I said, but are they doing those things consistently? And I think those guys are definitely doing that. And their teammates obviously think they're doing that. And so it's always cool to be able to tell a new captain that what their teammates think of them and give them that, as hard as it is when you have to cut a guy, or Howie and I have to cut a guy. It is a great thrill to be able to tell them that they're a captain, especially those first time guys. And just those guys have done a good job of being consistent in the people that they are. Again, when you're in a leadership position, you're not trying to be anybody else but yourself. And I think those guys have done that, and I think that's why they're voted captain by their peers.
I don't think you've had 3 unsettled positions on defense like you have this year, heading into the opener. How do you handle naming a starter, and then obviously from there moving forward, do you want to have someone in place would you rather have them be here for the entire season, or are you going to have competition, like it's going to be where that position is open?
It's always competition for everything. I think it's unsettled to the outside world. We got it pretty much settled in here. We got just like injury information, just like, I'm just not sharing that information quite yet.
In the camp, though,
From your guys' point of view, maybe, and maybe there, but we feel pretty good about where we are right now and the depth that we have at those positions.
Nick, we saw Landon out there on the field last week in practice. How good was it to get him back there just in any capacity, and how optimistic are you about his ability?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I know he's working really hard to get back. You're always excited when you get really good football players back on the field, and Landon's shown that he's a really good football player for the past 4 years here. And so, I know he's working really hard, and we'll see where we are by the end of the week.
2 more, please.
Liam Cohen recently shared the story about how you gave him some advice at owners' meetings about people ribbing him about his open press. Just be yourself. You've talked about how often you pursue coaches and other people for advice over the offseason, the summer. How many times do people come to you, and what has that kind of been like this year?
Yeah, obviously I'll keep any conversation I have with anybody private, and won't say, hey, this guy reached out to me or that guy reached out to me, but people have, and it's always an honor when they do, because they're noticing something from the outside that you hope that you hope other coaches notice about your the way you go about your business. So yeah, it's always an honor. I think about the coaches that I reach out to for information and to talk through things with. I'm reaching out to coaches I have a high regard for. Some that I know and have heard them give me information before, and some that I don't know, but I'm witnessing something from their program as an outsider that strikes up a thought in my mind to want to be able to reach out. And I would think it would be the same thing. So it's always an honor when somebody wants to pick your brain about those things, and always usually willing to share information, because it's usually not another NFL coach, but you're always willing to share information because you want to be able to pay it forward, like people have to me.
Last one. Has changed since Marcus has been here. Is it realistic to expect him to contribute early or to be a part of the plan early?
Yeah, we'll see, Zach. He is a really sharp guy. I've always thought that of Marcus, and so he'll do everything he can do. And we got great coaches with Christian Parker, Joe Casper to help them get caught up, to help Marcus get caught up. And so, yeah, we'll see where he is, by the time we get here to this game and, whatever moving forward. But one thing, when we were talking about bringing Marcus back, Reed Blankenship talked to us about, how much he thought, how much Marcus helped him, Reed, develop as a player and help learn the scheme. So he's really sharp, and he's got great leadership qualities. And it's awesome that's the memory that Reed has of Marcus, that he kind of introduced him into this thing while Reed was a rookie. Marcus was in his 4th or 5th year, whatever it may have been, and he helped him grow. And so now, with Marcus being here, you get him caught up to speed as quick as we can, and then he can help Sydney and Andrew, as well as Reed, helping those guys grow. So it's a good. I'm really happy. I've always really valued my relationship with Marcus and who he is as a person and who he is as a player, and I'm really excited to have him back.
It ain't no doggone tomorrow, fellas. What are you gonna bring to the doggone table? Are you gonna bust somebody in their mouth? Are you gonna do your doggone job? Are you gonna play from your doggone chest? Are you gonna play from your heart and get everything you doggone got? Cause I'ma do that. They don't respect us. They don't know about our heart, man. That thing that's beating in your doggone chest right now. Whatever you got today,